For more information on today's program, contact Erica Taylor Montgomery at threegirlsmedia.com. Now, back to Punch, Media and Marketing Made Easy, on the Bay Area's business leader, AM 1220 KDOW.
Good morning and welcome back to Punch, Media and Marketing Made Easy on 1220 AM KDOW, the Wall Street Business Network, where we help you punch through the competition and deliver a total knockout with your public relations, your marketing, social media, and so much more. If you have questions about today's topic, which is creating great content for your website, you can call us live toll-free this morning at 800-516-1220. That's 800-516-1220. We're talking about how to create great content, and our guest is Skip Besthoff, who's with Inbound Writer. Skip, so why don't we talk a little bit about how companies can tell if their current content is good for the web?
Yeah, great question, Erica. And it's a seemingly very simple question, which is, okay, is my content good or not? And if it's not, how do I improve it? Very simple question, very difficult to answer. And it gets to some of the things we were talking about earlier, which is, well, you're asking whether it's good, but for which audience? For people who are going to consume it and glean information from it, or maybe for the machines on the web like Google and whatnot that are actually going to process this information in order to serve it up in search results. So what's interesting is, even though that's a very simple question, it's actually very hard to answer in an objective, analytical, scalable way. That's actually one of the key value propositions that Inbound Writer brings to the market, is the ability to put a piece of content in, hit a button, and understand whether it's good or not, and if there are things to improve, what you can improve upon in a very simple way. There are, above and beyond using Inbound Writer, there are certainly ways you can determine whether you've got good content or not. Typically that would get into without the simplicity of an application like ours, you would be looking at analyzing web analytics and web data through a Google Analytics or a more powerful package like an Omniture or something like that to figure out traffic patterns. And without something like Inbound Writer, you would really need an SEO or a web analytics professional to do that. It's actually pretty complex.
Yeah, and Google Analytics is really a terrific system. And if you have a website, you really need to be using Google Analytics, which provides you terrific information absolutely free on the traffic to your website. You can learn how much traffic you're getting to each individual page, where people are coming into your site, how long they're spending on each page, what internet systems they're using and platforms they're using to visit your site. It's really an incredibly rich program, and it's absolutely free. And if you are not using Google Analytics, it's incredibly easy to set up. All you have to do is go to google.com/analytics. That's google.com/analytics. And it will literally take you less than 10 minutes to get it set up and running. And you can get great information on the content on your website. So Skip, why don't we talk about creating better content and how companies can go about doing that?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful topic, and I think it starts with understanding what your goals are for creating your content. Super important. Some people are creating content purely to drive traffic. Maybe it's an e-commerce type of site, and they just want to drive traffic straight off the web, and obviously content can do that. Other people are creating content for different purposes. Maybe it's for branding, and so maybe when someone types in something relative to your company or the topic that you're publishing on, you want to show up high in those rankings because it's a branding opportunity, or maybe a combination thereof. So the first step to creating really good content is understanding why you're doing it so that you can achieve that goal. I think the second step is then to really think about creating content that's going to be very useful for people. One of the things that Google and other major internet platforms are continuing to embrace is driving people to create good quality original content. In fact, Google, with its recent updates called Penguin and Panda, are actually, Google and others are going out of their way to penalize people severely who are plagiarizing content or who are using duplicative content or not producing good original content. So it's really now a major price of entry that if you do want to have a content strategy and achieve your goals, you really have to make the investment and have a commitment to producing good original content. Once you do that, then there are certain things that you need to do in order to make that happen. One is what we call topic research, which is once you've decided to write about something, you've committed to writing good original content, well, there's a little bit of research you should do up front to figure out what are the most relevant topics or angles on the specific thing that you want to write about, and then even more detailed research to say, what are the specific keywords that I should put in this content, not only to engage, again, my readers, but also to engage the search engines and the other internet platforms so I can serve this dual purpose. That research and that legwork is actually very hard to do, and like anything with online marketing, little subtleties in the types of terms that you decide to focus on can have a big impact on the performance. And again, that's one of the things that we highly automate, which enables us to really support people in producing great content.
Terrific. So, there are companies like mine that do produce a lot of content. And how would you suggest that companies who are producing a lot of content go about achieving consistency at a scale?
Yeah, well, it goes back to that classic maxim: if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And so I think that is something, to your point, that a lot of organizations struggle with, which is it's one thing to say, great, I do want to improve my content, I want to be producing good original content, that's great. And if you're a small shop, then that's probably not that hard to manage. But when you get to doing that in a large organization with hundreds or thousands of writers, and that's the scale of the organizations that we work with, then you really do need a consistent way to measure content, to track the performance of people who are creating that content, and understand where your strong areas and where you need improvement. So under that scenario, an analytic platform like Google Analytics or using an application like Inbound Writer is going to be an indispensable tool to really roll that out and do it consistently.
So what do you think is coming next in terms of innovation in content marketing?
Well, one of the things we're working on is what we call predictive analytics for content. And so it's one thing to say I'm going to produce a great piece of content on a standalone basis, but when you actually get into understanding what's going to make that content perform on the web and achieve the goals that we just said, maybe it's ranking, maybe it's driving traffic, etc., it's not just the content. The achieving those goals also has to do with other things such as the reputation of your site. So if your site is has a very strong reputation, and typically that's referred to with an industry metric called a domain authority. So if your site has very strong domain authority, then you can do certain things with your content that maybe others can't. If your site doesn't have strong domain authority, then you might have to work a little bit harder. And so because that domain authority and other statistics about your site are known and out there, there's a growing area of predictive analytics for content where, and this is one of the capabilities we're developing and launching before the end of the year, where before you even write your content, if you want to publish on a certain topic on your site, we can tell you before you put pen to paper how that's likely to perform. And so we think that's a huge area of opportunity because as people invest more and more in content marketing, and it sounds like you're going to talk about that in the second half of your show, there's real dollars flowing into the space, which is wonderful and I think represents a ton of opportunity. But along with those dollars, people need to understand where can I get the best ROI for those dollars. And that's where predictive analytics will come into play and I think just add a lot of value to the entire industry.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It really is a changing world on the web. And like we've been talking about, if you want to produce really good content, you really have to think about two audiences. You have to think about the human reader, and then you also have to think about the search engines and platforms like Google and Yahoo and Bing that are going to be helping people search for content and making sure that your content is found. So it's a really fine balance that you have to meet. And using a software program like Inbound Writer can really help you do that. So Skip, one more time, tell our listeners where they can find more information about the Inbound Writer system.
Absolutely. So we are at our website, www.inboundwriter, all one word, .com. And you can go to our press page, and you can see a lot of the recent press we've gotten. You can go to our product page, and you can see different features. And we also have some video summaries and video tutorials that are also really useful.
Fantastic. Skip, thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Erica, thank you. This is a pleasure.
All right. Coming up next on Punch Media and Marketing Made Easy, we're going to be talking about content marketing in the real world. You're listening to Punch Media and Marketing Made Easy on 1220 AM KDOW. I'm your host, Erica Taylor Montgomery, and we'll be right back after the break.